X-Man, welcome to die when you absolutely know how to start a YouTube video. Hello, hello, fellow the gamers. Uh, are you frustrated by Tropico 6, the chosen game of El Presidente? Um, you probably are, and it's probably not just you, it's most of the internet, according to their play numbers. So, hi, who better to talk about a 5-year-old game than the Andromeda YouTuber about a 25-year-old TV show? Like, sticking on brand is important to YouTube. So here I am. Um, I'm mostly making this video because I've noticed a hole in the discourse around this game, and that there is a gap when people talk about advice and how to beat this game. They talk about strategies for winning the game, and they never really talk about the theory of winning the game, right? So I need to fill that gap, and the secret is actually that this game is walkable city propaganda. That's right. Tropico 6 is actually a game about 15-minute cities. Clip it, paste it, done, print it. We're good. Memeify it. Um, so yeah, move over philosophy tube, I guess, because I'm gonna blow your mind with how this works. So first off, look at the size of my dick here. All right. Long story short, I did this game because I wanted to make sure I wasn't talking out of my ass. This game is basically on all the hardest difficulty settings. I think Natural Disasters is on 3 stars, which hardly matters because natural disasters barely go off at all. Certainly compared to Tropico 5. And I'm trying to remember where political difficulty is, but like, even if political difficulty is 3 stars, I know because of the way numbers have masked out that the it was a foreign policy that's 4 stars. So I don't remember if political difficulty is 3 stars or 4 stars, but basically this is like as hard as you can make a Tropico 6 game. And even if I am on 3-star political support, we're so high that obviously it doesn't matter. Like, this game is over. I've tried to suicide this game. As you can see, we have social security enabled, and also we're running a capitalist economy. So like, I've tried to kill this game like deliberately just to see if this island is rigid enough, and number just keeps going up. So everything is fine. um, by the way, if the color scheme's confusing you, because this is uploading to YouTube, I decided to enable a colorblind filter. So the blues here are actually greens, and the green is actually red. Okay, for all you normal-eyed people. Well, I should say all of us normal-eyed people, because like I don't really need colorblind settings for games. Um, but I wanted to be polite, right? It's my first gaming video, and I want to be polite to, people who are sensitive to that. Okay, so, um, let us talk about how this will go. Also, this is clearly an industrial game, so like, I don't really focus a lot on beauty, as you can tell. I just stack buildings in like fucking Tetris blocks. Doesn't matter what they are or where they go, they just go. So if I cared more about presentation and spacing, then we would have urbanized all of these islands by now. Um, and because all of that space would have been like, that population would have to move somewhere, right? So that would be what's left of this final island. But everything else is maxed out. This doesn't look maxed out, but it's just because it's so hilly and the terrain. We basically used up everything we can without destroying the coconut and lumber industries we have up here. All right, that's out of the way. Also, two things to get out of the way as well. Uh, One, this is on the base version of the game. The only thing I have enabled is El Pres, which is uh, a cosmetic. So that's because this video is not for like super seasoned players necessarily, although you might learn something from me, I hope, maybe, or I can contribute to the way you play. But like this is mostly for people who are like trying it on fucking Game Pass and getting frustrated with the game not telling you jack shit, which is something I love about the game, but also they do kind of maybe leave the children alone with the knives too often, right? Like the story missions. Most people who come into strategy games expect to play from a net zero on your starting map with challenges to come. Tropico's scenario maps always start you off with an economy that cannot sustain itself. It'll always break. So there's no like there's no feeling of progress. Like when you break even, that's progress, and I don't think that gels with a lot of people. So I'm here to hopefully alleviate some of that problem. Um, okay. Second point I wanted to do before we start proper is this is actually a part one. This is all about mechanical details and the inner workings. This is going to be a slightly more polished technical video with very little actual gameplay. But I am going to do a live stream of Tropico 6 in the next couple days, and I'm going to show you how to apply all of these ideas to a real game. But when I tried to say, like, what I wanted to say to new players and all about the mechanics at the same time, like, it was like a 3-hour recording. I can't do that. Nope. So this is hopefully going to be a little more trimmed down. So when that Let's Play is out, I'm gonna live stream it probably on YouTube. I have no attachment to Twitch. I do not want to start using Twitch. But when that video is out, I will link it in the rest of this video description. If this video has piqued your interest. I said the word video there way too much. Alright. So let's look at what is the core of Tropico. And the core of Tropico is this: your citizens' happiness. This game is basically a city builder version of The Sims, right? All of your population has these little needs bars, and when they get too low, they start to like critically influence how they behave, right? And you can't accomplish as much with them. Like that's the core of the game, right? Every other strategy you use is how to manipulate these bars, right? Whether through world wonders or policies or whatever, you're trying to keep as many of these bars or as many of the relevant bars to your strategy as high as possible and keep their approval rating as high as possible. Overall happiness is actually like 2/3 of the score towards determining whether someone is an approval, because it's unlikely that someone will be in all of the factions that are pissed at you at any one time. Like this person's religious, and we're not doing too hot with the religious. Yeah, so we have 6 approval with the religious, but that doesn't matter because we're so much better with their other factions. So like the political scores are important, but they're only about 1/3 of what counts towards electing you. And if you don't believe me, we have 96% support going into the next election. So take that. Play like a girl. And right. So we should go through all of this and we'll talk about what these all do.
A few moments later.
Excuse me. Long COVID cough is long. First up is food happiness, which is easy. People need to eat. That's a pretty basic concept. I know Americans struggle with that one, but it's true. Food happiness is based on the quality of where Tropicans get their food. Food quality from production buildings generally caps out about 50. If you want to get more than that, you have to use edicts, or more likely, a grocery store, or a shopping mall. Um, Restaurants also provide service quality, and they have to have restaurant in the name. Um, well, I don't think they do. It's the restaurant, it's the fast food joint, it's the gourmet restaurant, and there might be one more. Does the cocktail bar? The cocktail bar might. Well, it should be in here, but it doesn't. So it's just these three, just these caterings. Um, the problem with this, of course, is that until the very end of the game, these places will have a much, much, much lower service quality than a fully stocked grocery store. Keep that in mind if you're going to do what I do and you use restaurants to alleviate most of your fun problems. That may or may not play into however you're playing, right? Food happiness is important because if people get low food happiness, they die. They die of starvation. Um, we had 3 people die of starvation. I don't know why. Um, that probably means I have a community that's either underserved or just badly served by a food building. Basically, every community, like you want to have them spaced out, is that you want a food production building every few like squares. Like we have this corn allow local consumption. Oh, you know what I bet it is? I bet I forgot to turn on. No, I didn't. No, so this one's working too. Okay, so we have this fish farm here. Broke citizens can only get their food from gathering buildings. They cannot use the grocery, they cannot use restaurants, and they cannot use the shopping mall. So keep that in mind. If you want to see long-term growth, you have to handle food happiness. At least keep it. Generally, you want food happiness to be above 40, to be safe, right? Yeah, we had 3 food deaths, but we also have a population of 5,100 people, so like, we're fine. That's 0.006% or something. Like, we're fine. We're fine. Healthcare happiness. Ours is actually pretty bad because we had a game is currently in February of '98. We had a refugee crisis in like '86 or '87. And that just totally overloaded. Like in '86, well, the save file for this game, the last save file before I just stopped playing and was like, okay, we're good enough, was '87, and our population was under 4,000, and now we're at 5,100. So like our health services got overloaded. So I just built a bunch of new hospitals, and it's slowly ticking back up. So that'll be fine. Deaths to bad healthcare. If healthcare gets too low, below 20, your citizens have chances of dying of diseases, and if it drops to 0, they just die. I'm not sure exactly how the RNG works on that, but those are 2 different things. I have seen people who have some healthcare remaining just drop dead, and some people who walk the whole island on 1 point until they die. Healthcare is influenced by pollution, but I tested this for you, the viewer. Are we repairing that? We are repairing that. I made this city with no pollution removal whatsoever. If we look at our overlay, we can see our pollution is at 100. This is bad. You normally don't want this, but I wanted to test it. And even when it's maxed out, so what happens is when your Tropicans work or rest, the level of pollution takes away from their healthcare happiness. So even here, even in this shitty mountain town, sleeping only takes away about 10 points of healthcare happiness. So people are still going to live, right? They can still survive as long as they have good healthcare access, which is probably where those deaths from bad healthcare came from. This is actually the one time I would say if you're doing heavy industrial, heavy pollution games, using the chiropractor on the clinic, it's not that, it's something else. Quacksalver, but what they mean is chiropractor. Um, it reduces the visiting time. So having a bunch of these up, because your Tropicans are going to be using healthcare services more often, reducing that service time is good. That's the only time you should ever move this off of state approved doctor, though, in my opinion. Is when you have a population that's like just really unhealthy and just needs that little bit of extra juice to just keep going. Um, that would be my recommendation for that building. Keep this score high, obviously. Dead Tropicans can't work jobs. Importantly, there is one healthcare building not apparent from its description, and that is the chapel, the colonial religious building. The work mode, help first, preach later, is the only way to provide healthcare in the colonial era at a rate of 25. Critical appears to be below 20, so your margin of error in the colonial era is very slim, but it's not hard to have a healthcare happiness of about 21 or 22 in the colonial era if you manage your chapels very well. So you can keep your population more or less healthy, for lack of a better term, for 25 healthcare happiness. Also, the chapel is the only way to provide healthcare to broke citizens in the World War era. Generally speaking, I don't know of many people who play paid healthcare in the Cold War era, but if you did play paid healthcare, chapels would still be your only resource for people who are broke. I know there was some discussion in places about whether or not the budget of the chapel matters in terms of the service quality of the religious. Like, if their faith quality is too high, will they not come back before they're dead? No, they will seek out the chapel. The Tropican sim does recognize it as a healthcare building. So if they need healthcare, they will go there if they are below 25. So don't worry about that. So you can continue to max out those budgets, it's fine. Next up is fun. Fun is simple. People need things to do, or they go crazy. Low fun happiness, become demotivated, they move more slowly. And I do actually believe there is a hidden mechanic where they work more slowly too. And by hidden, I mean it's not necessarily here. I think it's somewhere else in the file game, somewhere in the statistics. But even the movement is enough to worry about. Like, that makes sense, right? Like, if you click on any building, you can see how far away some people are coming to use it. Like, this little dude over here is going all the way to this funfair pier. Casually walking by the hydroponic on fire. If this person is moving slower, it's taking them that much longer to get there, and they are sucking up this slot that could go to someone else. That's not so important here right now because our fun coverage is pretty solid, but our healthcare coverage is not because of that refugee crisis. So, like, we have people coming to this hospital from all over this island. We have people coming from this island over here. Like, the longer those people are in that queue, the longer they're sucking up these valuable slots, right? So fun, very important. Next is faith. Faith is probably the least important of all of these. It's also confusingly named. It should probably be called fertility happiness. And if you think of it as fertility happiness, it's way easier to conceptualize in your brain. So you have to go to church in order to become fertile, which is probably why I like this game. hidden propaganda for sex cults. Faith is simple. Just build faith buildings. People will go to faith buildings. They will go to their cathedrals. They will go to their churches. Because faith is the most useless, it also is, like, the most dynamic, right? The game, like, gives faith happiness a lot of like random little quirks through various like social policies and toggleables compared to the other types of happiness. Like generally speaking, all of these other happinesses are restricted to the world wonders. Um, but faith, like you can hire a religious minister of the interior, which will, um, I believe that's what we have actually. If we check our ministry. Yes. So, like, the religious minister of the interior, rebels and criminals have a 10% chance to lose their role every time they visit a chapel, church, or cathedral. Um, you can actually use RNG to manipulate that. If you make it so that the only service building is a chapel on the lowest budget setting, people will be constantly seeking out religious uh, happiness, and they will keep going in and keep checking in. You can manipulate the RNG that way and force more triggers of it than normally would happen under normal circumstances. And you could combine that with other things like uh, what is it? The basilica? What which what the fuck is that called again? Saint Basil's Cathedral. Citizens visit faith and religious buildings more often, right? You can combine those two, and you basically don't need prisons anymore, right? Because that's a 10% chance of just instant prison sentence. They just drop their roll, right? That's time you don't have to invest. That's money you don't have to really invest. I mean, you're investing some money obviously to like build this thing, and then investing to steal it, and investing to keep the minister on and all that. But like, it's much cheaper than just keeping a lot of prisons, especially if you like growth. Like this game was industrial, so we just kept the growth going. So we have had the penal colony in Edict tabled way too fucking long. um, because peeking ahead, yeah, like a quarter of our population is criminal still, like because just you can't build that many prisons. There isn't enough room for that many prisons. Um, so that's faith. Faith overall the least important, but also the most dynamic and fun to play with. Housing, job, liberty, and crime safety are all basically the same. When your sim works or sleeps, they are influenced by whatever the local number is, right? So for housing, that's whenever they sleep. For job, it's whenever they work. And for liberty and crime safety, it's whenever they sleep and whenever they work. We have basically perfect liberty coverage. This is an Eiffel Tower game, so we have perfect liberty coverage. Crime safety is actually relatively high, but again, like I said, we had penal colony enabled for a very, very long time, like into the modern era. Like I just kept it running, even though you don't really need to do that. But like again, like I said, this was just growth. We wanted to urbanize as quickly as possible. So like we have a lot of criminals. We've lost a lot of like look at all this money we're losing, and the line still fucking goes up, right? Uh, so like they're all basically the same. You increase housing and job by just increasing the quality of housing and jobs, which are done through upgrades, including electrification in housing. Liberty is pretty simple. Just have a lot of liberty emitters, and liberty is pretty easily modified by the Constitution. You have a lot of constitutional options. We have basically all of them enabled right now. We have legalized substances. We have true separation. We have privacy rights. We have open marriage. We are full liberty. Like, no one will rebel against us. Crime safety is a combination of low crime safety and joblessness at the same time. So if you have a high unemployment rate, it's important to keep crime safety really high. If you have a very low unemployment rate, crime safety doesn't become as much of an issue. Like if you are growing almost perfectly to the number of jobs that you have, to the number of people on your island, then crime safety is really not a concern. Although crime safety is important in local modifiers. There are a couple buildings, and especially the embassies. Embassies count local crime safety. So if you build a police station like we have here, you will influence local crime safety much higher, and you'll get a better approval rating from the superpower that you have done that police station next to. Their embassy, rather. So, like, also politically, as you can see, like, everyone loves us. Like, we don't need the foreign aid anymore. We're just... This is on max difficulty again, like, just in case you think I'm talking out of my ass. Alright. I mean, I am talking out of my ass. I'm, like, known for it. And there's a lot of ways to maximize crime safety, by the way. Like, the easiest way would just be to go in here and turn everyone and militarize your police and just turn it on to always on duty. This is the core of the engine, right? This little ping pong back and forth. What this means for you is that the mechanics of the game are that Tropicans will chart a path to whatever. We actually have a good place to show you, I think. Alright, we could try this one. Who's this? Who is this mysterious person? Alright, you're well off. Good. I can actually show you the thing I fucking want to show you. So this person is walking to this funfair pier, right? This funfair pier has a service quality of 76. Not great. But that's fine, because this is for the purposes of demonstration. So this sim charted a path to this building, right? Even if... I'm just going to copy a really high... So this restaurant has a service quality of 101. We're just going to copy it. And we're going to quick build it, like, right here. And let's let the game run long enough for this to be filled. And for people to start queuing into the building. Maybe. Sort of. Maybe? Okay. People have started queuing into the building. Notably, not this person. This person is still... who is this person? Alice. Alice is still going to the funfair pier. Even though the funfair pier's service quality is lower, and it's farther away, she could just change course and go directly to this one, because we do know that people are queuing into this building now. She can't change her path because it's already programmed in. The only way that path changes is if this building explodes or if they die, right? That's it. Those are the two ways to get rid of the pathing. So this means a couple things for you, right? That means that citizens consume slots in service buildings immediately as soon as they chart their path. So adjustments to your supply chains are slow. They need time to take effect as everyone settles into the new pattern. That means that citizens who spend too long traveling to their destination are eating up more slot space than Sims who are nearby and complete their task before the one who's far away even arrives in the building, right? So in practice, for example, if you have promised giving healthcare in your election speech and you're having trouble with your election promises and you're finding that that's making it difficult to make election speeches, this is why. You need time for those promises to take effect. So you can't just build 3 hospitals a year before the election and hope that that fixes it, right? Or a year before the deadline, because promises come after the election. But you know what I mean, right? Like, if you have a quest deadline coming up and it's like 90 days left, it's too late, right? It's probably too late if you haven't worked on it beforehand. Like if you have housing, even if you maxed out all of your housing immediately, like we just control clicked, all of our housing is now five star on our modern apartments. Like that would take time to get into place, as everyone has to first go to their house, sleep, and then they get the benefit. Or whatever, right? So that's something to keep in mind. So the key to juggling all of this is walkable communities. So let's take this little town that I showed you before, the pollution town. But otherwise it is great for our example. This is basically unchanged, other than obviously the upgraded buildings, but basically the layout of the community is unchanged since the colonial era. This was a wood gathering community. Our logging town on the top of the mountain. We have housing. We have a restaurant for entertainment. We have a grocery for food happiness. We have a church for faith. We have crime safety emitter, our liberty emitter. We have extra jobs here. We have a clinic for healthcare. We even have a coconut harvester in case there are any broke residents here. And speaking of, we have a bunkhouse under Stack Them Higher, which is my preferred way of doing public housing because I prefer doing blocks 4 squares wide. So bunkhouses fit better into 4 squares than the conventillos, because they're 3, I believe. Conventillos are, they're 3 squares. So bunkhouses just fit better in my style. But we have it all here, right? Everything, like we're zoomed in at a fairly comfortable level. Everything that our Sims need, their job, their healthcare, their faith, their fun, their food, everything is on screen right now. You can chart where someone would go. Bing, 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 bing. They never have to leave this town, theoretically speaking, right? This is the key to keeping your Tropicans happy and productive. Make sure they don't have to walk too far. The longer they spend walking is dead air to you, right? Because at least if they're inside a building, they're at least raising one of their stats, and that means that they will spend less time doing the action, and it'll be quicker before they go back to their job, right? And they'll be more productive. That's how you build the economic engine. I wish that this game had a way to track heat mapping, because that would be so cool to see, because I feel like that would be really fun. It would be more clear to people. And again, the only thing that this town lacks is a pollution building, which it doesn't really have the room for anyway. I'd probably have to move this Teamster's office and slap a waste treatment down here somewhere. And even then that wouldn't help too much, because these things need a garbage dump. There's most of the pollution is from these oil rigs, actually. But other than that, this town has everything, right? It's tiny, it's compact, and you can see even in what is, this is our starting island. This is now functionally urban jungle, basically. There's a couple gaps here, but they're gaps next to the garbage dump, basically. And these mines exploded recently. But this was our starting area, right? This is our starting town. We started over here, but I basically moved everything over to this corner, because this is where the fish were, and this is where I wanted to build the city. So, rule of thumb, your newspaper is your town limit. Everyone who lives in a community should not have to walk farther than the radius of a newspaper to get where they want to be. They should not have to walk further than the radius of a newspaper. Now, practically speaking, of course, there probably will be places that have to walk a little farther, right? If this guy over here in this building, if they want healthcare, they'll probably have to come here, which is a little further than half. It's closer to 2/3 of the distance. But that's fine, right? It's okay. 2/3 is probably the max, but aim for this radii. And you can see still, we have this old church up here, which was serving as our faith building, and then we built the cathedral. And we just kind of kept both, because we just have so many people in this area now that we need both. But even through the urban renewal, everything is still functional, right? We have our grocery over here. We have our hospital over here. We have our fun fair pier over here for fun. We have a restaurant over here for more fun. We have crime safety emitters in these police stations. We have our waste treatment facility over here just to make sure that this community isn't polluting too much. This was our first clinic. Like, everything is still here, right? Even though we are urban jungled. And that's why over here we have this little set of public services because people just live out here now, right? This is our expansion town over here. They don't really, people around here don't comfortably fit into either town, really, because most of the services in this town are over on this side of the newspaper. But because there are people living here now, we just expanded this. But like, you can still see the framework of the old town that we had here when this was a mining town. Because think of it like a Wild West town, right? That's how capitalist colonialism works. You find a natural resource, you try to exploit it, like with a mine or a fishing wharf or whatever. A town builds up around that resource, and the resource dries up, but the town is still there and still needs to find a way to be productive as well. Or people leave and it becomes a ghost town. So like, you can still see the framework of the old town we had here. We had the church here, we had the clinic here, we have a restaurant up here. Like, this is the World War like setup, right? The groceries over here. Like, this was the town. Fun fair pier over here. Here's another example. I'm just gonna point the camera at this city for a little while, if my mouse works. And you can see everything, I'm sure, right now with your own two little eyes. Here's our healthcare. Can you find the fun? The fun's over here. Can you find the grocery? The grocery's over here. Can you find the gathering building for broke people? That's this over here. Can you find the closed industry loop? I can. There's a logging camp over here. There's a lumber mill here, and there's a shipbuilder right here. Like, everything is condensed. No one needs to leave this place, theoretically. Obviously, with the healthcare and shit going crazy, like, people are going all across the fucking island, and it's kind of probably really hurting our economy. We should probably be closer to like 6 or 7 mil without that healthcare crisis. But such as it is. Sorry if my chair is loud. So this is the way you do things, right? This is also why you kind of want to avoid having shacks, because shacks pop up randomly, and they usually pop up right next to where people work. So you're having a more difficult time controlling where people move, right? Other thing that this town demonstrates. You can put work buildings on the outer ring, like just outside this radius. That's okay. And housing, you still want to be within the newspaper radius because you want it to be affected by the newspaper. But if you put housing on the outside here, that's okay too. Because housing and jobs, generally speaking, only affect the people who work or live there, right? But where your church is, where your clinic is, where your restaurant is, that affects everybody. So you want those buildings to be in the center, in the core, so that people can ping, bing, 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 right back between all of them, right? We don't want our Tropicans walking any further than that. The only thing we're missing in a lot of our communities is a high school, because this is our Registan game. Registan of Samarkand, by the way, doesn't do what it says on the tin. Surprise. All this does is basically make 20% of your population high school educated. Just flat. If one of them dies, another will rise up and take their place. It doesn't do what it says on the tin. It doesn't take any time to enact. You can check that the next time you build it. Especially if you build it in the colonial era. you can look at your education level and you'll just see it go bump. It's just 20% flat. That's what it does. Just wanted to point that out. All right, I'm getting distracted. This is why the last video was like 3 hours fucking long. Okay, all of this is to say, this is the secret. This frees up your roads from traffic. I can't tell you how many times people complain about traffic on fucking Tropico 6 on the fucking Reddit or whatever. I don't know what the fuck you people are talking about. Look at this. This is our dock. This is our dock. What traffic? Right? Like, our Teamsters have no problem. We could probably build more parking decks and actually be fine right now. I actually neglected parking decks on this island quite a bit. Which I should probably start not to... Like, if I was going to keep playing this game, obviously. I'm not going to, because it's done, like I said. But we're starting to build up a rich population, so maybe I should. Maybe I should do that. But, like, this solves so many problems that I see people complaining about on things. How many Teamsters should I have? Less than you think. If you are used to traffic jams, it's less than you think. Like, admittedly, I'm wanting to talk because I got a little blindsided. My supply is a little, like, choked right now. But we just built a bunch of new Teamsters, and we've already, like, taken care of most of our supply problems. But, you know, like, traffic should never be a problem. Like, look at this. Like, again, 1998, like, we've been in the modern era for a long time, right? Like, we've done all of our research. Like, we just had nothing to spend it on. We've done so many space missions. Like, this is the end game, right? Traffic should be at its worst. It should be. But it's not, because we have walkable communities. People don't need to go anywhere. Where's all the traffic? The traffic is in people walking everywhere. Look at this. Everyone, like, this fucking... Look at this fucking, like, Coruscant shit going on at our dock. Like, people are just walking everywhere. Look here. People are walking. They just... Because it's faster. It's faster than getting in a fucking car and just going. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, keep that in mind. So that's the secret. This isn't a strategy to winning the game, right? Like, you still need to strategize your economy. Like, you still need to identify what your resources are and juggle your relationships and your edicts. But this is the framework, right? This is the nuts and bolts of winning Tropico. And I'm going to prove it to you. And I'm going to attempt a challenge that I've been wanting to do for a while, but I've been putting it off. I'm going to do the Island of Lesbos challenge. That's right. We're going to evict all of the men. Gender ideology today, gender ideology tomorrow. Can we run an island purely on immigration? Think of it that way if woke politics bothers you. Because functionally, that's what we're going to be doing, right? We're going to be running purely on immigration. No reproduction. Because even though this constitution has gay marriage enabled, we do not have any gay couples. All couples are still male-female because that's how the game is programmed, right? Which is a shame. I wish they would enable that. But that's going to be the live stream videos, the Island of Lesbos challenge. And some of it's going to be fun because that's going to have a lot more social engineering than I am used to. But I'm also going to use it to like show you exactly how you lay out your city, what the thought process is behind, okay, how far away, what's the distance, you know, how many industries do I need to, in an early game to start up and keep my momentum going, right? Um, all this stuff, technicalities like where you should position the churches, where the houses should go to comply with this theory, to comply with the walkable cities theory. Um, as I said, that'll be a few days from posting this, so if you are a mighty spaceman of the future, it's probably up already, and the link will be in this video's description. So I will catch you there. Also, to my channel subscribers, I'm sure this is not the video you expected from me after like a year of silence, but it's the one that got stuck in my head, so it's the one that brings me back in. I have decided that keeping up with the community is impossible on Twitter anymore, so we are moving this party to Discord, baby! Yeah! Woo! Another shitty company with a 3-year shelf life. But there's really no better options at the moment. So come join the Discord if you want to be kept up to date, or if you want me to incorporate more gaming in the channel, let me know there or in the comments. Keep out on the live stream. The Discord is in the description right now. And I will see you later. Bye.